D, and this is the Unguided Life, where I am taking it one day at a time, bringing you guys along for the journey to hold me accountable as I budget my way through life. So we need to do a check-in. I always recommend that you do a check-in either weekly or month or bi-weekly, should I say, to see where your budget is and where you need to make the necessary adjustments to reach your goal. So I've taken all the necessary sheets that I need to check in to make sure everything is going fine with my budget and to see if I need to make those adjustments. Now, prior to, I am going to talk a little bit more about myself because I do have some new subscribers who may not have gone back and looked at the first few videos that I posted. So to give you a overview, I started this channel simply as a way to create an accountability family. In my life, I didn't have anyone that was holding me accountable with my finances. With that being said, I decided to start recording what I was doing and posting to elicit the help of individuals who I now refer to as my accountability partners, who cheer me on, who provide me suggestions to help me be successful. When I started this journey, I had a child that was under the age of 18. Now I can say I'm a mother of an adult child. My son Papa, he is currently in college. So right now I'm kind of adjusting to life on my own. So as I talk a little bit about my budget, you'll see how I'm adjusting things to reflect that. So let's get into it. So the first thing I do is I go to my monthly overview sheet, my monthly budget overview sheet. And this just basically talks about my monthly goals, my income, the expenses, and the breakdown of the many categories that I have with my discretionary income and making sure that it balances. So when I set up my budget, I usually don't show my goals because I haven't really closed out my last budget. So I really don't know what I need to do to be successful the next month. So these are the goals that I created, and I want to save at least $570 towards the emergency fund. In order to do that, I need to bring in an additional $410 for my side gig income. In order to do that, I honestly need to be mindful of my unbudgeted spending. Now, I may sound a little bit different only because yesterday I went out and I did a whole bunch of screaming, a whole bunch of singing, and my voice is slowly making its way back. I'm just glad that it didn't completely go. So now that we talk about the goals, I've already marked the items that has been paid. So today is October 7th. So this is the mid-month mark of my budget. And so these are all of the expenses that have been paid thus far. So the next thing is I look at my paycheck or my income breakdown. This tells me exactly when I did receive income, what I did with it. Also, it tells me what was remaining. So in this particular breakdown, $813.51 was left in my buffer, which included my monthly bill checking account and my unbudgeted spending checking account. Additionally, I decided to go ahead and send $30 to give myself a head start on my actual saving. So the next thing was my income breakdown number 2. This was for October 1st. This was when I received my stipend, as well as the rollover for my monthly bill checking account, which included $807.26, which was a total of $951.40. I only had 2 expenses, which was rent and giving. Those both went to their respective accounts, and that left me with a checking buffer of $221.99. So that's what I'm expecting to be in my account when it's time to break down my income for income breakdown number 3. So this is my spending record. So these was the transactions for September, and these are the transactions for October. And as you can see, it's the 4 categories for my envelope system. Dunkin Donuts, gas, groceries, and personal. I do use a highlighter method to know exactly what I'm spending in each week. And so since it's only been 2 weeks, you can see that the like darker red color is for the first week and the purplish color is for the second week. So I am going to pull this to the side, and here's the weekly check-in. And a weekly check-in sheet, it helps me find out exactly what I have from week to week. So for the first week, which went from September 24th to September 30th, these were the budgeted amounts. This is what I actually spent, and this is what's remaining. What's remaining, I then carry over into the next week, which is October 1st to October 7th. Additionally, what's added is the bills that needed to be covered from that period, and that was the rent and the giving. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to indicate what has actually cleared my account for each of these categories. So when it comes to the bills, again, the rent in the giving went to their respective accounts, so we can count that out. For gas, I actually haven't spent anything in gas, y'all. Let me tell you. So with it just being myself and not Papa, I now know that $30 a week is ideally a good mark for me, because I work from home with my main job, so I'm only getting out because I'm doing my side gigs. So without him in the mix, I can like stretch the gas like for a good 7 days plus, and that is great. So now I have a balance with the gas, and I'm so happy about that, because what's going to happen is when he's thrown in the mix, I know that I need to go up and not keep it the same. That's the great thing about finding your sweet spot in some of these categories. It becomes a pattern, and when you're able to identify that pattern, then you're able to be more on point with your budget. So again, I did need to actually get gas yesterday, but I was like so pumped to go to this event, so I drove, and then on my way back, Savannah light came on. I was like, I'm gonna get gas today, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going out, so I'll get gas when I actually go out. So I have to like send a Google reminder, because I am the one who jumps in the car and keeps it moving. So I need to tell myself, when you get in the car, go to the gas station first. So let's talk about groceries. So with the groceries, as you can see, for the second week, I only had 2 transactions. I went to Aldi, and that was part of the grocery haul that you did see. And then I went to Harris Teeter because I needed to get those blue corn chips to complete my meals for the week. So with that, that was $51.77 plus $3.57. So that's $55.34 that I actually spent out of groceries. Now with the grocery situation, it's still a little touch and go. Because it's all based on what I plan on doing in regards to detoxing, and it's also how my taste buds, as I shared in the grocery haul before, or this week, is I just didn't have a taste for anything, and so it made it hard for me to shop. But I did receive some suggestions of what they usually do, and I think it's been working out fine. So we'll see how that looks going forward. For personal, it was $8.35 that we budgeted, and at this current time I only had 2 transactions. One was for Sirius XM. I wanted to extend that, so they gave me an offer for 3 months free, but I had to pay the $2.14. And then I went to cook out after the event yesterday because I needed to put something in my belly. So let's see how much that is. So that's $7.80. The last category is Dunkin Donuts, and with Dunkin, I just had 1 transaction, and that was for $8.80. All right, so let's see where we ended for the week and what we need to carry over. So for the bills, nothing's going to be carrying over. Everything has been paid. For gas, we have $73.74. For Groceries, $65.40 minus $55.34. That leaves us with $10.06. For personal, we started with $8.35. We minus $7.80. So that leaves us with 55 cents. For Dunkin Donuts, we started with $17.27 and we spent $8.80. So that leaves us with $8.47. And I just verified that the ending balances match when it comes here. All right. So that is the mid-month check-in for my envelope system. Now what it carries over, everything is going to carry over to this week, but I am going to receive additional income, so I'm not going to fill this out yet until I receive that and see what I'm sending to these categories to add to that. I used to do the zero out challenge bi-weekly, but I decided to pull away from that only because I see that sometimes I need to allow for these balances to carry over, and then at the end of the month it's best to see what I have remaining. And that's something I have been watching Tracy with Financial Freedom Diary do. Now she does deal with cash, but the method still applies. Same method can apply to my situation. So there we go. The next area that we're going to discuss is the unbudgeted expense tracker. So as we know, the September rollover was $6.25. The income breakdown number 2 given, I actually transferred to this account, and I'm going to do that going forward because it allows for me to pull from this account when I'm actually doing something in a given category. So it has a place. I did complete a small business purchase of $7.99. That was to Tasha with Mind Your Money's website, and I purchased the annual Excel spreadsheet because I wanted to see how my expenses look for the year in 2022. I'm just running with the numbers, seeing about what I can make adjustments to make sure that I'm not overextending myself. Because as you know, this year I have my commercial loans that I'm gonna start repaying, but next year I'll be paying back my federal, which is a hefty chunk. So I wanted to see if there's any possibility that I need to make any adjustments right now, get in a habit, so when the payment hit, it doesn't hit hard. So $12.67 is left in that account. As I stated, I'm slowly building up the unbudgeted checking account because I found that if I started to throw a certain amount to it, that I was more inclined to spend it as a crutch and not as a cushion. So that's where we at with that, just slow and steady. Okay. So the next area is our sinking funds, and with our sinking funds, we had some drama. Okay, so the first drama is the sinking funds are actually set up with, not set up with, it's in a different account. So, and the reason why I use this account is because I can create buckets, and with those buckets, I'm able to, transfer back and forth between the spending account and the buckets, or what they refer to as vaults. And so with the first thing that happened was when I went to go get the material for my hair, I actually swiped the wrong card because I was talking to my mom and I got distracted. When I realized that, the next place I had to go to was the grocery store, so I just reverted doing that. Like I chose the card that I was supposed to use for the site for the sinking funds. I used that instead at the next place. So then I had to figure out how to get the money to balance out. So when I figured out how to get the money to balance out, my hair ended up being a little bit more, not on my part, but on like some miscommunication between me and the hairstylist. And it would end up being more than I expected. So what ended up happening is I just decided to zero out certain accounts because I needed to make sure that my monthly bill account was exactly the way that it should be. So I ended up spending in week 2 $112. In this account, I did not add anything. So let's put a mark there. And this actually zeroed this out for this week. So we have to build it back up because we still got some things we need to do for ourselves. So the next area is the retreat area, which is my home. And with that, I end up spending all of that as well. And that was $38.50. And I actually spent more than that, but I just pulled from this account. I zeroed out this account to make it even because, you know, it is what it is. I spent from it. I wasn't expected, and I'll get into what I spent for that. When it comes to Savannah, I didn't add anything, and I didn't need to take anything from that account. And the Savannah is my car. The Sandlot, which is my property, again, that was something I didn't need to add and I didn't need to take from there. So this is my sinking funds, and this is exactly what I did for the for the first 2 weeks of my budget for the unbudgeted spending and the sinking funds. So now let's get into the expense tracker for the credit card transaction. So let's notate a couple things here. And first thing first is that for my credit card, my billing cycle ends either the 14th if it's February, the 15th if it's 30 days, and the 16th if it's 31 days in the month, okay? So September was a 30-day month, which means that the end date was September 15th. On September 15th, I made a purchase through Klarna for $17.14. Now, just a little side note, I do not talk against or tell people not to use this simply because it has its benefits. And it's not just a benefit of stretching your payments, it's a benefit of protecting your money. And I won't get into it here because I don't want this to go too much along, but I've been in situations where if I had let them take all of it out, I would have been sitting there fighting to this day. So that I did make this purchase, but this purchase included 2 shops, okay? So that left the balance of $56.76. And that was the balance left. And when my insurance, which is through Account Assure, and I use insurance to protect this credit card in the event that I lose my income, that they'll be able to pick up the payments and or pay off the balance. And so it was 50 cents because they charge per, I think it's like 1% of the percentage. I'm not 100% sure. I always say that I need to look. I know it's somewhere it tells me it's 1%. So they end up with a balance of $57.26. You should have seen this because this is what I actually was budgeting for my October budget. So I know based on the October bill and this amount that I do not need to worry about any charges above here because they're going to be covered when I make this payment. So now I need to worry about the payments or the charges after. I do use a color coding system. This is the guide that I use. As you can see, each color corresponds to different categories. We have unbudgeted, we have sinking funds, we have the envelope system, bills and budgeted, payments and fees. And when I made a payment and it's fully, I put a dot. If it's partial, I put a slash, and that's only if it carries over into the next billing. So I don't put it until I know that, like, hey, a part of this particular charge with the payment I made cover only a portion, so I will have to account for additional, okay? And that's when I close out. So this is basically how it looks, and then I just highlight it here. So let's talk a little bit about this. So as far as the unbudgeted charges, some of them indicate SI because they'll be covered under my side income. The bills, which are highlighted in pink, when they post to my account, I show the payment in green, and you should see that. As well, it'll be travel for me and Papa. So that's in blue. Papa has paid for his portion. I did receive a credit from Klarna. And as far as those 2 bills, I have been able to pay those. And I actually paid it on October 1st. So for Target, the unbudgeted charge is a soccer net. I purchased one because the kids were kicking their ball against the side of my home for some odd reason. So I bought the soccer net to avoid them destroying other people's property, okay? So Lowe's. So I had to go into Lowe's to get a flapper. We already knew there was issue with the toilet. It was the flapper. I knew what flapper I needed. I was approached by a male store employee, and first he was explaining to me why I was having issues with the flappers all the time, which was great. And then he started hitting on me, which made it awkward. I ended up grabbing the wrong flapper, had to go back to Lowe's, return it to get the correct flapper, and to avoid any awkward situations going forward, I purchased a whole bunch of other stuff so I can avoid Lowe's for a little bit. So that's why my retreat sinking fund is depleted. All right. So this is my mid-month check-in. I have gave you all of the business of what's been going on in situations, as well as looking where I'm at. So I'm ending the credit card transaction for $557.84. As you can see, I do have certain items as earmarked for side income, so I'm just letting the debt settle with that, and then I'll move that because I want to be very careful when I do that, because I do have goals. We already know that in order to ensure that I'm able to send an additional $510, or not additional, send $510 to my savings for my emergency fund, I need to have an additional $410, and I need to not have a lot of unbudgeted spending. So we will see when I do my review how well I did, but this is my mid-month check-in. All right, if you have any questions, definitely leave them below. All right, peace out.